This is Terrell Pauly with LearnHealthcareIT.com. And what I wanted to talk about next is what is a PACS administrator? Right? In the previous video we talked about what a PACS does, so you know what a PACS. You have a brief overview of what a PACS does. So now, what is a PACS administrator? So a PACS administrator is someone that, if you could probably already have guessed, is someone that actually administers the PACS system, actually manages the every sort of aspect in that is dealing with the PACS system, all the different type of systems that may come into play that interact with the PACS system. So, if you have any idea of kind of like what a network administrator is, or what a systems admin is, systems administrator, or any type of other administrators, if you have any idea of what those IT administrators do, it's kind of similar as far as like with being a PACS administrator. You're actually monitoring you're actually administering the PACS system. So, when you're talking about administration, you have different types of typical duties, daily duties that a PACS administrator can go through. Now, in this slide here, this slide is taken from one of my larger courses, and I talk about a risk PACS administrator. But in this video here, I'm just going to talk about just a PACS administrator. And I'll talk about risk maybe in a future video. So a PACS administrator's job roles can vary depending upon like whether you work for a hospital or imaging center. That's one piece, and because with the hospital imaging center, typically if you're working at an imaging center, it's kind of a smaller, more intimate type of IT position. So you're actually doing, you may be wearing multiple hats. You may have multiple job roles. You may be doubling or tripling. You're the PACS admin. You're the network administrator. You're the PC desktop support technician. You are the systems analyst. You're doing Active Directory. You're doing all of these different things because you're at an imaging center. And typically at smaller imaging centers, they don't have the financial bandwidth to be able to, and there's not really any need to be able to have all these different IT, IT staff to do singular job functions. So you're typically at an imaging center, you're doing multiple different job functions, and that's how my position. That was my experience actually working at an imaging center when I worked at the imaging center for 6 years. And then with a hospital, typically you will for a PACS administrator role, because the hospital has a bigger budget, of course. It's a hospital, has more staff, has more people. You're typically going to be able to handle like one or two singular job role functions. So you're going to be strictly a PACS admin, and maybe you do a little, something else too as well. But typically you're kind of more focused on like one or two job roles when you're at a hospital. So what are some of the daily duties of a PACS administrator? So typically for a PACS admin, you think about it when you go back to what a PACS does, right? So a PACS is actually storing medical images into the actual PACS system itself, into the PACS. So you're not only storing images in the PACS. Typically when you're storing images into the PACS, you're going to have other data that's also being stored in the PACS that may not be digital or images per se. They could be orders. It could be reports and things of that nature. So typically when you're storing images into the PACS for a particular study, So let's say if if we go back to when you have an exam done, you have an X-ray done on your elbow because you hurt it, injured it, so you go to the imaging center to get an X-ray done. They take your images from the X-ray, they send it and store it into the PACS system. The PACS system needs to be able to match up your images with who you are, right? Identify you. So you have identifiable information, and also match you up with who you are, but also with your particular visit. So typically, your visit, typically that comes in the form of an order, what you're getting done. So typically with a PACS system, will match up your actual images with your order. So who you're able to match up to study. And sometimes with the PACS systems, for whatever reason, there'll be wrong orders will be associated with image, or the wrong images will be associated with an order, or vice versa, and things need to be corrected and reconciled. Studies need to be changed. Maybe patient information is incorrect for whatever reason. So the techs need to they typed in the patient's name wrong or birth date wrong, so that needs to be, and they've already sent the images to PACS. So now this study needs to be corrected after the fact. That's what's in PACS. So your PACS admins dealing with daily reconciliation issues, study reconciliation issues. Also, PACS administrator deals with image transfer issues, right? So image transfer issues. So you can imagine when you're dealing with a PACS, right? So in a PACS environment, you have these, you have your PACS, you have your modalities, right? You have which are your X-rays, CTs, MRIs, ultrasounds, all of these different modalities. You also may have a third party processing unit that processes the images after the images have already been received into PACS. This third party processing unit is like a third party workstation. As well, you may have just radiologist workstations that may want to receive the images from the PACS. So you have all of these different devices, medical devices that interact over a network, and where you're receiving and you're sending images to. So there may be a problem with slowness, images not transferring, not able to store the study in PACS. So a PACS administrator needs to be able to know how to properly troubleshoot and diagnose what the problem is and the issue is, so they can, because you're dealing with patient, patient healthcare information, and some of these images or studies, some of these studies maybe need to be diagnosed or read right away, urgent, stat, what have you. And so in some cases there's an urgency to be able to figure out what sort of network problem, or why are these images not storing at the PACS. So a PACS admin deals with image transfer issues. In addition to that, PACS administrator deals with system maintenance, depending on if you're working with your vendor, whoever is providing you services for your PACS system. You will, and it kind of depends on what they allow you to do, how much expertise you have. You're going to have every PACS system, behind the actual PACS system itself is the server itself, the server, whatever physical hardware it sits on, whether it's going to be, whether it's a VM, but even behind the VM, there's going to be a physical server behind the VM itself. So whatever kind of hardware the PACS system sits on, and the actual parts of the PACS system itself, and how it incorporates displaying like the how much database storage you have, how much image storage you have, disk storage, all of these different pieces of information. You know, a PACS administrator will be able to monitor that, right? So they're going to monitor and see how day to day or weekly, what have you, or get notifications, stuff like that. But PACS admin deals with managing system maintenance. In addition, as well, a PACS administrator deals with managing system management. So management meaning managing different parts of the PACS application, as far as if you have certain rules put into place that allow your PACS system to do certain things. I'll give you an example here. Let's just say, for instance, if you have a radiologist that, and a radiologist is the actual person that actually diagnoses your images, so they can give you a report and give you give their interpretation of whether your elbow is broken or if it's only bruised. So let's say you have a radiologist that works from out of their home every Wednesday. So, and this radiologist likes to be able to receive, have the best quality to be able to, for their images that they're interpreting, they want the best quality possible when they're displaying images on their monitors. So, in order to receive this best quality, it was decided upon, what the PACS administrator decided the best way possible is just to be able to physically send the images from within the hospital or imaging center, whichever the PACS system resides, physically send those images over through the network, over the internet or wide area network to the radiologist's home and to their local workstation. So the PACS system, so you're going to set up a rule. So one instance of being able to do system management, application management for the PACS is to, if your PACS system supports it, set up a rule to say in the PACS system that says, hey, every Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., we want to be able to send these studies, these particular types of studies, whatever, CTs, MRIs, forward them to the radiologist's workstation. And so you set that rule up in the PACS, and then you set it up to schedule it to where it only executes every Wednesday. That's an example of system management, and there's tons of different types of system management, different kinds, but that's just an example. Also, a PACS administrator, handles user management. That's just adding, deleting, modifying users. They deal with that. Just that's kind of self-explanatory. Then also, PACS administrator deals with, we all know if you're having any type of IT experience, you're dealing with troubleshooting issues, right? Workstation issues, risk PACS server problems, workstation errors. So with any type of IT job, there's always going to be troubleshooting, and you're going to have workstation errors, problems, issues. There are, PACS clients that actually sit on top of, and they run on top of workstations, user workstations. So, and you can have any combination of problems, PACS problems that are related to the workstation hardware, software on the workstation, or just the PACS client application itself. So the PACS administrator is dealing with troubleshooting a multitude of different types of events and problems. So just kind of a brief overview. That's kind of a brief overview of what a PACS administrator does, what their daily duties are. And I also want to point out that typically there are two types of PACS administrators, that at least from what I've seen in my experience, and I've actually been been in this space now for over 13 years. So in my experience, there's a PACS administrator can have just the IT background only, and that's kind of like how I was, how I am. Actually, just have come from an IT background, or a PACS administrator can have a clinical background, right? So meaning clinical background, meaning they were a X-ray technician, or MRI tech, something like that. They have clinical experience, and they want to be able to. They're trying to get into, become PACS administration. I've seen both, and then typically, best of both worlds is to be, if you have clinical, it's good to have clinical experience if you have it, because then you're able to kind of better relate to the radiologist, the clinical side, as of the house. So if you have clinical experience, that's great. If you already have that, then you can if you have clinical, but you need to be able to know some sort of IT. You have to have some sort of IT experience, or you're going to have to rely on help from other staff members who are experienced in IT, because a PACS administrator typically is a combination of the two, clinical and IT. But I will say it's a combination, but you can survive, you can do well just having IT experience, because that was me. I just had IT experience, and that when I worked at an imaging center for 6 years, about 90% of the time, that was all that I needed, was just to have the IT experience. But 10% cases came into play to where cases like, for instance, if images, being able to tell a difference between an axial image and a sagittal image, like I'm not able to tell, I have no clinical experience, so I'm not able to help there. So in those cases, I had to rely on the help of a CT technician or MRI tech to be able to tell me what type of image is this, and blase. And these are cases coming into play to where a radiologist might say, or somebody might say, hey, I'm missing images in this study. I'm missing images in this series. So can you tell me what you got to investigate what's going on, and then it kind of goes from there. So I can kind of get in depth and talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm trying to keep this kind of concise. But typically those are two different types of PACS administrators. But trust me, if you only have IT experience, you can definitely become a PACS admin. I know it, because majority of my dealings in this field within healthcare IT for over the past 13 years, majority of people who I've seen that have that are PACS admins, they have just only IT background. So you can definitely, if this is one of your questions, you could definitely become a PACS administrator with only having a IT background. So just wanted to make sure I make that clear. So I hope this is helpful for you if you are wondering what type of different what a PACS administrator does, what their daily duties are. Just kind of give you a good nice little brief good overview of what that is. Hope this is helpful. And if you want to if you're trying to get started within the PACS administration, I actually have 10 surefire steps on how to get started within this space. You can actually head over, and it's free. It's just 10 free surefire steps. You can go to newpaxadmin.com. That's new, N-E-W, paxadmin.com. Head over there and you can check that out. So I hope this was good. Again, my name is Terrell Pauly with LearnHealthCareIT.com. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.